Welcome back, everybody. In today's episode of Cooking with Kirby, we're going to be making Aguachiles Verde. To go over the ingredients for aguachiles is similar to ceviche. Most recipes you'll see them cook the shrimp like ceviche, but in reality, aguachiles is actually served raw. You take a salsa, which is a green salsa, and you put your raw shrimp butterflied on a plate, and they marinate it with a salsa verde. But I know a lot of people don't like to eat raw fish or raw seafood, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cooking our shrimp in lime juice like you would ceviche. Now for the main ingredient of our dish, we have some shrimp. This is 1.5 pounds of jumbo shrimp. You want to make sure that you have a nice sized shrimp because you want a good bite. Now to tell you about shrimp, okay, shrimp usually has a black line, which is the intestines that come along the back, not the bottom, on the back part. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you open it up and remove that intestine out of your shrimp. Now if you buy deveined already, that's what this is. It's already deveined. They've already did the work for you. You don't have to take nothing out, and just take the tails off and the shells. Along with our shrimp, we're going to need some limes, a lot of lime juice. That's about 2 cups, I'd say, just enough to cover this and make sure that everything is soaking in some type of lime juice. I got about 9 limes right here, but usually it takes like about 2 cups to fill this up. And you want kind of a narrow, shallow bowl, so that way you don't have to use as much limes. You have a larger bowl, well, you got to fill it up with more lime juice just to fill over the shrimp. To go over our salsa, we have tomatillos. Now, these are not green tomatoes. These are actually, these are in the boysenberry family. So we're gonna need about 5 to 6 tomatillos just to make our salsa. We're gonna need some serranos. You can use habaneros. I've ate this with habaneros and it's fantastic. It's delicious. It's got a nice good heat, little fruity taste to it. But if heat is not your preference, you can go with the jalapeno, and you don't have to use as many chiles. I'm gonna be using 6 Serranos Chiles along with 4 garlic cloves. When I make my salsas, I like a pungent garlic flavor. So you could use 2 garlic cloves, but me, I love garlic in my salsas. For the salsa, we're gonna be adding in 1/4 of an onion. To make our aguachiles, I'm gonna be using 1/2 of a red onion. This is just to add some different color because we're gonna have a whole lot of green, and I kind of just want that red color just to pop. We're gonna need 1 cucumber. Probably gonna use about 1/2 bunch of cilantro in the salsa verde, but we're gonna be using some of the cilantro just to add into the aguachiles. You will also need salt and pepper to taste, and to garnish, I'm gonna be making some tostadas. We're gonna need some avocados, some aguacate, fresh aguacate. Make sure that they're ripe and softened. And this right here, I love this salsa. This actually goes really good, even though we're adding a salsa, but you add this on there. This is a salsa negra, picante. This is from Mexico Lindo. This has a really good flavor. I tried this at one of the seafood restaurants over there in Mexico, and it was fantastic. So when I seen this the other day, I said, you know what? I'm going to be adding this to my aguachiles. Okay, in a pot of water, we're gonna add in our tomatillos, the serranos, and the onion, and we're gonna put this to high heat, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. All right, so once our tomatillos kind of changed to like a brownish color, they went from a bright green color to like a yellowish, brownish color. That's when we're gonna pull them out, because once you overcook tomatillos, they actually get, to mush. So we don't want that. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these out and put it in a blender. And before you put your chiles in the blender, take out this little back piece and you're good to go. Now we're gonna add in our garlic into our blender. About 1/2 bunch of cilantro, just the top portion. We don't want the stems in there. The juice of 1 lime, and we'll add just a little bit of that water from the liquid that we boiled the chilies and tomatillos in. And we'll add in just a little bit of salt to taste. Just add just a little bit now, and then check it when we're done blending it, and then you can correct it from there. Now we're gonna give everything a blend, and we wanna make sure that everything is liquefied. So now we're gonna just check for seasoning. And you want to make sure that you do this a little bit before you do your shrimp, because you want this to come to room temperature. Ooh, it's got a nice little kick. Needs a little bit more salt. Now again, season salt to taste. Okay, just give it a quick pulse just to mix everything together. All right, one more check. All right, that's good right there. Now, let this come to room temperature and put it in the fridge. We want this cold before we add it to our shrimp. So for our shrimp, they're already pretty much butterflied. They're kind of really butterfly, really close to where most people like to cut them. But when I do aguachiles, I like to add a little bit more pieces of shrimp. So what I do is I cut them in half. So that way you get this piece right here. When I do aguachiles, I like to serve them on tostadas, or you can serve them on a bowl and you can eat it with crackers. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of these shrimps and then we'll season them with our lime juice. Now that we have our shrimp all processed and cut to how we like it, now we're gonna take a lemon or lime squeezer and we're gonna be squeezing in our lime juice. Now, like I said, it takes roughly about 2 cups of lime juice. Now you can use lemon. Somebody asked me actually on my last video where I did fish ceviche and I showed them, you know, to check out my shrimp ceviche. In my shrimp ceviche, I actually use lemons and limes. Either one is fine. It's just using the acidity to actually cook the shrimp. I mean, it's not technically cooking with heat. It's the acidity that's cooking the shrimp. Okay, so I used about 7 limes for this. We're gonna need a little bit more. As you can see, we're kind of getting close to the top of the shrimp. So this does actually use up a lot of limes. All right, so ended up using all of our limes. So we're gonna give this a mix. You wanna make sure that there is some type of lime juice saturated over the shrimp. I don't know if you can see it already. It's already starting to change color, like a reddish color. Sometimes they turn red and sometimes they just turn white. So that's something to keep an eye on. But they do fully cook within about 30 minutes. Now, if you're a little skeptical on 30 minutes not being enough, you can leave it for an hour. It's just gonna marinate it a little bit longer and you're gonna have a nice zesty shrimp. So on the safe side, like I said, if you're a little hesitant about that, put it in the fridge for 30 minutes, give it a stir around, and then let it sit for another 30 minutes. But all you really need is 30 minutes to cook the shrimp. So make sure that everything is submerged under the lime juice, and we're gonna put this in the fridge. I'll see you in about 30 minutes. Now, usually when I do ceviche, I cut my onion just in chops, but for this, we're gonna make it so that way it's nice and fancy looking, I guess you could say. But we're gonna be cutting it like this to the side. Slice right here. Nice little thin slices. So that way when you plate it all together, you have nice long strings like this. And this little end bit. Just like that. Okay, so for our cucumbers, they're already peeled. We're gonna just cut them in half. Now you will see some people tell you to take out the seeds. You could take out the seeds if you like to. But since I love ceviche and you know the marisco style seafood a lot, this is like one of the best parts of it. So all I'm gonna do is just cut these in little half moons. And that's just how we're gonna be doing our cucumbers. Now, like I said, if you wanna take out the seeds, by all means, go ahead. So after about 45 minutes, this is what the shrimp looks like. Sometimes they turn red, sometimes they turn purple, or sometimes they just turn completely white. But yeah, the shrimp's cooked all the way. Now I'm gonna be removing some of this lime juice. I'm gonna keep a little bit there because this actually has a really good flavor, but we don't need all of it. It's gonna be real tarty and real sour. So just leave just a tad bit of lime juice. Now add in our shrimp to a large bowl. We're gonna mix everything together. Now add just a tad bit of salt. Shrimp tend to be a little salty because they come from the ocean. So just keep that in mind. Just to add a tad bit of salt because we do have salt in our salsa. So that's gonna add some sodium there. Mix that all up. Add in our cucumber and onion and the rest of that chopped cilantro. Now for the salsa, we don't need all of it, but we'll go ahead and drizzle a few spoons of this salsa on there. It probably will take most of it. You want this a little runny. Now we're just gonna go ahead and mix everything. You wanna make sure that you get that salsa everywhere. That salsa is the flavor on this. And sometimes when I make a big batch of this, the next day, you know, we got leftovers, it tastes even more phenomenal. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit more. Like I said, you want this a little runny. That right there, folks, our aguachiles are done. Let's go ahead and get a tostada and give this a taste. Ooh, look at that. So we got our tostada de aguachiles. Like I said, you could eat this with crackers in a bowl, however you want it. But this is how I love to eat it. And we're gonna be adding in a little bit more salsa. This is that Mexico Lindo salsa picante negra. This is basically a black salsa. But yeah, just go a couple dabs of this. This isn't too spicy. We're actually gonna get a little bit more spice from the salsa that we put into it because we use Serranos. This is gonna add just like a little bit of a tomato flavor. It's some good stuff. Cheers, y'all. It's just so fresh. The cucumber, I love recipes that has cucumber and lime. Really, really good stuff. Overall, that salsa's got a little kick. It's not too spicy, well, for my preference anyways. If you can't handle heat, just pull back on some of those peppers, or you could use not such of a spicy pepper like a jalapeno. But overall, that salsa is really, really good. Cheers, y'all. They're fire. Recipes like this, I truly love. I ate them when I was young. My family used to make them, and they're easy to make nowadays. If you're new to my channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. That way you can see future videos just like this. As always, I'll leave the link in the video description and in the comment section so that we can go to my website, cookingwithkirby.com, to get the full printable recipe. Now I have these recipes. They're really good. You should try them out. Now y'all be beautiful and take care.